After coaching for 4 years with thousands of different students, the questions I get the most from players are related to their aim. They ask me why their aim feels inconsistent or why they're losing easy duels. However, out of all the problems I've encountered, one problem that gets overlooked is movement. Oftentimes, issues with movement actually end up being the root issue that causes you to feel inconsistent during gunfights. That's why in today's video, I want to go over 3 key signs that your movement is holding you back from ranking up. I'll go over some common mistakes, what you need to do to fix them, as well as some examples of what good movement should look like. That way, by the end of the video, you'll have a better idea of what to work on, how to go about it, and ultimately how to rank up and win more games. But real quick, if you'd like to get some more personalized hands-on help with your mechanics and your rank is at least silver, me and my team of Radiant and VCT coaches can help you rank up 500 RR in just 10 weeks guaranteed, or you get your money back inside the Immortal Roadmap program. You'll be getting over 100 hours of personalized coaching with hands-on drills, scrims, workshops, and one-on-ones to make sure you learn everything you need to hit Immortal Plus. So if you're serious about putting in the work to see results like some of our players, and you want to work with world-class coaches like Milan, who won champs in 2021, click the link in the description below to book a free call with me or one of our coaches to see if we'd be a good fit. Hurry, because we just opened up 80 new spots for the next season, and spots fill up fast. Now, back to the video. Our first sign that your movement is a problem is something you've likely heard of before, because it's about having an unhealthy relationship with crouching. Now, I know you've probably heard that crouching, and especially crouch spraying, is a common bad habit that you should avoid, and that's true. But when it comes to utilizing crouching at a high level, there's a lot more nuance to it. Some pros actually use crouch a lot, and the way you implement it into your own game should be more than just trying to crouch as little as possible. The reason most people think crouching is bad is because crouching is one of those weird movement things where more often than not, you don't actively think about whether you're doing it or not. This kind of autopiloting can lead you to insta crouching every gunfight and spraying and praying. But for some people, it also leads them to the other extreme. Some people think the idea of crouching itself is so bad that they'll completely unbind crouch, swear off crouching, and ridicule or belittle anyone who crouches in any context. I've stated this before, but it's important to reiterate that crouching is a difficult subject. It's not always good and it's not always bad, but it is something that can clearly become a crutch when your relationship with it is poor. Usually, a poor relationship with crouching is a symptom of playing reactively in all your duels. A good relationship with crouching is the opposite, which is having a more intentional idea of when or when not to crouch in your duels. To highlight the difference between the two, I'll use TSM's GMD as an example of both reactionary crouching versus intentional crouching. In this clip, GMD's retaking in a 1v2 after his teammates lose their gunfights. The Cypher knows from his neural theft where he is, thus places a trip in main, and even throws a camera to force the crosshair placement to break. The Clove also throws her the K and peeks him before GMD can break the trip. This causes the French-Canadian star to immediately crouch, not expecting such a wild play. This shows that even pros sometimes still play reactionary in a crazy or weird situations, and it's perfectly natural that you might experience this too. But this is a rarity for him, because normally he crouches much more like he does in this clip. Here, GMD is in a 1v4, retaking C site to clutch the round. Notice how as he peeks for the first duel, he doesn't crouch until after the first couple of bullets. This is because in contrast to before, he isn't panicking over what his opponents are doing. He's pre-aiming every angle, wide strafing, and making minimal movements in his initial peek. Then he crouches once he's committed to the fight. The only other time he crouches in the next 3 duels is on the final duel, when he's one shot to his opponent. Why is that? Crouching when you're low can be a huge benefit because you're throwing off your opponent's initial crosshair placement. And in the time frame of each kill, there isn't enough time to communicate that GMD is 1 HP. So he swings, crouches, and clutches up to win the round. As you look at pros, streamers, or even yourself, try to think back to how often you panic or unintentionally crouch. If you find yourself doing these things without any idea why, try next time to actively change what you're doing with your pinky. You don't have to unbind your crouch key or anything like that. Just having that active thinking around crouching will make a huge difference. Another great example of a pro player utilizing crouching very well is Primi. Primi is the guy when it comes to utilizing intentional crouching. In fact, I think he might be the best player out there when it comes to utilizing crouching as a part of their playstyle. But what sets him apart from everyone else in the crouching game? I think Primi does 2 key things really well. First, Primi crouch peeks into angles enemies might be holding just perfectly, almost like a robot. Whenever he wants to peek an angle in an evasive manner but without making any noise, he'll usually start his engagement with a short but not super brief tap of the crouch key to make sure that anyone holding the angle at headshot level has their crosshair placement all wrong. Primi will show up on the enemy screen right below their head level, and as the enemy starts to adjust, Primi will have already let go of the crouch key. That way his head goes up again and his enemy needs to adjust a second time. But that's not everything. The second and most unique aspect of Primi's crouching is its use of what I call tap crouching. Tap crouching is essentially just a quick tap of your crouch key mid-duel. It's something that you can do quickly when strafing or peeking that can throw off your opponent's crosshair more often than not. And it's something Primi has mastered. Just look at the small crouching movements Primi does in his fights. Okay, so we've gone over how we need to make sure that we have a good grasp of our crouch key. But of course, that's not everything, because the next sign that your movement might be holding you back is that you haven't mastered all the movement techniques or are lacking the confidence to use them properly. These two ideas go hand in hand because I often see students with a lot of confidence while not really understanding all the movement techniques at their disposal. And on the other end, I've seen players with solid movement and a good idea of all the techniques, but lacking the confidence or awareness on how to utilize them in their gameplay. So I actually want to offer something to both camps and show all the different movement techniques along with when and how to use them in your gameplay. First off, the most important thing for anyone who isn't sure if they know all the movement mechanics in the game is to check out my guide about them here. This video will break down, explain, and teach you every mechanic in Valorant. But what that video doesn't go over is a unique idea behind combining movement techniques all together. If you've ever watched fighting games, MOBAs, or even other FPS games, every single one of them has a unique aspect to them. However, something you may not know is that they all share a key aspect of gaming that dates back to the Stone Age. Combos. Button combos, whether on an arcade machine or a desktop computer, have been in gaming since forever, and Valorant is no different. This is because button combos have now become more techniques within our gaming sphere, and in Valorant's case, it's highlighted more in our movement system than anything else. The more obvious examples of this come in with Agent's movement kit, and arguably the most simple version of combos. Take Raze as an example of this. If you were to list out each key you used for your satchels plus your ultimate, it would look very similar to League of Legends ability combos. In the more advanced versions of this, it looks a lot like our high-level movement players like Temet on Neon. But at a fundamental level, all these combos are found in Valorant's movement, and it doesn't make sense for you to button mash or randomly use movement combos in game. Some of the best movement clips show these successful combos. For an example of amazing movement, I want us to take a look at the new star of Sentinels, Narrate. This former EU powerhouse from Karman Core hit one of the most underrated aces of 2024 in his 1v5 against Na'Vi earlier in the year. Now, I know he isn't the first person that comes to mind with good movement, but he should be near the top after witnessing this clutch. He utilizes the good movement combos from start to finish to create chaos for Na'Vi, isolate 1v1s, and clutch to win the round. Like with this KO flash, he does a shoulder peek to see if anyone is peeking with that same flash in order to fight. He doesn't spot anyone, so after the flash, he chooses a normal peek and is rewarded with a kill. After the jump spot in heaven, he knows that someone else will be taking a fight, so he swings into pipes and sees the Race throwing a nade. He repositions and fights the Race who just cleared him out with a nade, then tap crouches as he's fighting Viper in heaven. Now, if you were to create a combo of each move he's made so far, he's combined a shoulder peek, a normal peek, as well as a wide peek into a tap crouch for these first 3 fights. For the final 2 kills, he tries to bait out a swing, which Na'Vi doesn't give to him, so he chooses to go for multiple silent peeks until he's confident where player is so that he can commit to a crouch swing. From here, it's an easy post plant for him, as all he has to do is play around his ultimate and the time he has to reposition for when the spike is halved. If you think of each of these movement mechanics as a button input and create unique combos on the fly to solve any situation. Movement combos can really help you to not only simplify the movement techniques themselves, but also to create unique and interesting combos that favor your playstyle. If you want to move like Primi, then using more crouch peeking combos mixed into other movement styles would work better. Or do you want to move like Temet? Then crouching may not be the best way to utilize Neon's kit. So a B-hop combo with a slide stun would be your button combo. These types of combos can not only help you determine what works and what doesn't, but also when to use different combos in your duels. Like if you were in a 1v1 duel with the bomb down and you had to stop them from planning, does it make sense for you to wide swing off the first tap? No, of course not. You can combine a jump peek with a jiggle or shoulder peek, and this will help you see if they're still on the bomb after the tap, or they might even start shooting at you as you do your movement combo. If there are any cool duelist or fundamental movement combos you can think of, let me know in the comments down below. But now that you mentioned the duelist movement kit, let's talk about one last thing. The final sign that your movement is holding you back would be over-reliance on your roles or agents for good movement. Something I see all the time with my students in every role is this idea that they can't have great movement because they don't play dive duelists. Or if they're playing a dive duelist, they might think they already have really good movement and don't need to work on having better movement fundamentals. But both of these scenarios are far from the truth. That's because dive duelists' abilities to fly, dash, or run around the map can mask some real issues in your movement. Remember when when I mentioned Temet? Temet is easily the most hype and well-known Neon player in the Valorant scene right now, and with good reason. He utilizes Neon's kit to the maximum and abuses the slide in his own personal button combos to get crazy highlight plays. But if you were to eliminate Neon from the roster of duelists, would Temet still have that level of movement skill? 100%. A player like him doesn't purely rely on his agent's ability to get frags. He can still utilize his fundamentals to go for B-hops, one-taps, or crazy peaks. Will it be as effective as his Neon movement? Not necessarily, but that's not the idea. The idea is that no matter what movement you think you might have on a duelist or any other agent, it's not what sets you apart from the best of the best. Take Reyna as an example. She, as an agent, has nothing outside of her blind before getting a kill. So what does she force you to do in order to get kills and utilize her whole kit? Reyna forces players of any rank to have good fundamental movement that activates her kit where it otherwise wouldn't be used. Or even an agent like Sage. Sage can create insane movement combos on maps like Icebox because of the ropes and verticality available to her. Dogamo even proved this against Leviathan earlier in 2024 by having some of the best movement combos in an ace this year, and further still while on Jet against NRG. The best players have a great fundamental grasp over their movement mechanics, combos, and how to best utilize this as a play. So if you're forced to fill in your ranked games in the future, don't worry about not getting your key movement duelist you like to play. And if you're worried, you have to focus on your fundamentals much more. That'll be all. Thanks for watching.